So, this week for the top 10, number 10, I have the Tampa Bay Buccaneers dropping one spot. They didn't play, but there's just some other teams that I liked more than them. I'm still a little concerned about the Evans injury. Looks like Godwin and Bucky should be back this week. We'll see if they play and how they look. But I kind of got them in the same range as Danny, kind of like 10 through 7. I can't remember exactly where you had them. But, I just think, they're a really solid team. It does depend a lot on Baker kind of having his best day. When he does, they can beat anyone. But to trust them to do that 3 games in a row, which is, what it takes to get to a Super Bowl, without Evans, it's going to be tough. If Evans can come back in time for the playoffs, they're gonna rise up this list a lot higher because when fully healthy, they are one of the, I'd say, 3 to 5 best teams in the NFL. That's just not the case right now. Number 9, I got the Denver Broncos.
8, by the way.
Huh?
I had the Bucs at 8.
You had the Bucs at 8, yeah. So I'm 2 spots below you, pretty much the same spot. But I have the Broncos at 9, and they're dropping a spot for me. Why are they dropping? They just won. Well, they beat Davis Mills, and as Dan said, they won the game by 3 points. C.J. Stroud was out for over a half, and you can't extend from that. This Texans team has lost to only teams with winning records so far this season. This is a good team. Okay, so I'm not totally surprised that the game remained close, but my prediction was that the Texans would win this game 18-16. I believe that would have happened if Stroud was still in this game.
For the rest of the game, at least.
Yeah, I think they definitely would have won, and it would have been a low-scoring game. I think I was all over this, and that really reassured me about my opinion that, I like the Broncos. I think they have ceiling, but I think they have potential. It sounds great when you talk about Bo Nix and this short passing game of Sean Payton and all these weapons, but then you forget that gelling and chemistry actually has to occur. This team has no number 1 wide receiver. I get Cortland Sutton's there. They don't target him like that. Marvin Mims, Troy Franklin, and Pat Bryant, as the 4. They have this collection of guys. Evan Ingram hasn't really done too much this year. RJ Harvey and Dobbins are a solid duo. Harvey's starting to get used more finally. But it's just the wide receivers and then the offense with Bo Nix. This Texans defense is maybe the best in the NFL. But seeing, what's supposed to be precise offense perform like that when they're down to a backup was disappointing for me. So they moved down a spot to number 9. Number 8. We got the Seattle Seahawks, who were furious at me last week for not putting them on my list. And I had them as an honorable mention, not for nothing. But they're back on the list. And I feel kind of funny for not having them on there and having the Broncos on there. Because this Seahawks team is a way better version of this Broncos team. And now they have Rashid Shaheed. So it is kind of we'll see. It sounds amazing. We'll see if it actually does pan out the way we think it will. But everything that this Broncos team can do, it almost feels like the Seahawks team can do better. It feels like their defense is more disruptive. It feels like their offense explodes, and it has exploded at times this season, not against teams like the Giants, against teams like the Buccaneers. Now, they also kind of struggle with the idea of, what is the Seahawks' signature win? I mean, they beat the Steelers, which are looking to be a pretty good team, the Jags, which are looking to be a pretty good team, and the Commanders, which are looking to be a pretty good team. But they also lost to San Francisco week 1 and the Buccaneers. But there's no, they beat the Lions. They beat the Colts. They beat the Eagles. And I get it. It's kind of close with the Steelers, Jags, and Commanders. Those are good teams, fringe playoff teams. But it's not I'd say that the Jaguars win was the most convincing. That Commanders team had pretty much fallen apart by the time they played them. And the Steelers win was good too, but that Jaguars win, that defense was so dominant. So that's why they're there at number 8 for me. Number 7, we got the Green Bay Packers.
Bro, get the freak out of here. Get the freak out of here.
Dropping 2 spots. All right, I dropped them. I dropped them 2 spots. All right, so let me just delineate into this idea of the upsets that occurred this week. We had the Lions lose to the Vikings. We had the Packers lose to the Panthers. And there was one more.
Colts lost to the Steelers.
The Colts lost to the Steelers. How could I forget? So, among those, I would say, the Steelers are a fringe playoff team. We see that now. I'm pretty sure they're 5-3. They've got some solid wins under their belt. But nothing crazy. Not the craziest team, not super high ceiling. They were just better that day. They caught the Colts off guard. But their quarterback had a really bad game, Daniel Jones. The Lions, that they versed like kind of the best version of that Vikings team. Like Addison was suspended, the offensive line had gone through some injuries. Wentz was not good under that, but they got like everything back on offense and defense, and you could tell watching the game schematically, at least on defense, like they were par for par with the Lions. If not, they were kind of one step ahead of them the whole game. It seemed like they knew, and they were able to contain Gibbs. And then offensively, since they're stuffing them so hard, they were able to jump out and take that early lead and then sustain that lead. I was getting a little nervous they were going to choke that game away, but the Vikings defense held it down. So when it comes to this Packers and Panthers one, you're like, well, where are you going with this? Well, I'm saying this Panthers team is not that bad. They're 5-4. I mean, they beat the Cowboys. It's not like they have the most impressive list of wins, but they have a dominant run game. Like truly, like this run game has been underrated all season. And that carried them to victory in this game. And then, honestly, this is just more to me about, like, the Colts, like, you boil it down to Daniel Jones. And then with the Lions, you boil it down to, wow, the Vikings are finally fully healthy. And McCarthy, like, wasn't too bad. And the Lions just kind of didn't show up a little bit. They kind of beat themselves. I would say this Packers team just completely beat themselves. Like, the way that they're trying to, like, run this offense is like the reason they play up and down to their competition. Like that Browns game, they played it safe the whole time, thinking they were safe, winning like 10-0. And then you end up losing that game because you were content being up 10-0 and not actually going for like these deep shots to your wide receivers. Matthew Golden, Christian Watson's back now. Jaden Reed is hurt, but he'll be back probably in time for the playoffs, I think. Dontavian Wicks is like your number 4. Dobbs on the outside is like the primary target getter, but like the consistency from this passing game is not here. Jordan Love had a pretty ugly game a week after having what was probably the best game of his career. So to me, it's like kind of just a conglomerate of like the Packers are not, if I'm going to criticize something, it's not like the players on the team. It's actually going to be Matt LaFleur this time and a little bit of Jordan Love. Jordan Love didn't play well, but I don't think Matt LaFleur is really on his P's and Q's right now. I think he's kind of, he's not approaching these games the right way, and it's the reason that they play up and down. And so I think this was super avoidable. I think they would beat the Panthers 9 times out of 10. This is just a week that they didn't show up, and they paid for it, and they're paying for it on my list. They're dropping 2 spots. I still think they're way too talented, just like I said about the Eagles early on in the season when they lost to the Giants. And the Giants are bad. They're not like the Panthers, I said, let's hold on a minute here. Have some faith. This Eagles team is really talented. They have good coaches. They'll figure it out. It's just 1 week. So I have them staying at 7. So that's my quick defense.
But you said about the Steelers being a fringe like playoff team and everything. Do you see the playoff? Do you see the Panthers being able to sneak in?
It's unlikely that they sneak in, but they are 5-4. If we look at the NFL standings right now, NFLstandings.com, NFC. We got the Eagles at 6-2, the Packers at 5-2-1, the Buccaneers at 6-2, and then the Seahawks at 6-2. So the wild cards would be Rams, Lions, and then it would be Rams, Lions, Bears, but they played one less game than the Panthers. The Panthers have the same amount of wins as the Lions and the Bears. The only team that would get in ahead of them is the Rams. So, yeah, they can make the playoffs. I mean, there's only 3 spots. One of those teams are not going to make it. So, if I had to put my money on it, I'd probably say it's the Bears who miss. And then the Vikings are 4-4. They're kind of there. The 49ers are 6-3. I just feel like it's going to fall apart. I guess they would make it in over the Panthers. But, yeah. So, yeah, I think they can make the playoffs. It sounds kind of crazy, but like I said, this is not a bad team. Don't get it twisted. Like, they're pretty dangerous. So, there's a couple times now that they've caught teams off guard. All right, number 6, we got the Philadelphia Eagles. How do you like that, Dan? How do you like that?
We're like right there with each other.
Right there with each other. Right? Very similar teams. I think you guys are ahead when it comes to kind of fixing your problems. As part of why I put you guys ahead, and you had such a good trade deadline mixed in with the bye week. I think it's a really good opportunity for this team to reestablish themselves as a top 5 to 3 team in the NFL. just as talented as the Packers. Saquon Barkley started looking good again, although he pulled his groin a little bit. He had the bye. I think he'll be back. And this, just this O-line getting healthy. This late bye for them is kind of a gift. And as a Giants fan, I'm very upset. I have a very bad feeling about this. Not too much else to say. They didn't play this week, but like I said, Jalen Phillips, Jair Alexander, one of those things are going to work out. You're healthy off the bye. I mean, they're one of the healthiest teams in the league, and they are. That lasts into the playoffs. So
it does. And I think he's just excited because since Daniels is out, the Cowboys may have a chance to sneak in some way somehow.
Yeah. Well, we'll see. We'll see about the Cowboys. Yeah,
we already own the Commanders.
I totally ignored the Cowboys in that, like, are the Panthers going to make it discussion? Not intentional. You guys made some changes, but you're still behind in the win column, so you got to catch up first. All right, number 5, the Indianapolis Colts dropping one spot for me, not the Cowboys. You guys can't see Joey right now because he's hidden. But that's him talking right there. You'll know because it's not Danny. Oh, yeah, you can't even see the screen. Anyway, Colts dropping one spot to number 5. What happened? You played the Steelers. Well, they've got 3 great defensive tackles, a defensive culture that has been there for well over a decade. They know how to stop these types of teams and make those quarterbacks uncomfortable. Daniel Jones has never played comfortably against the Steelers. And even behind this Colts team, it appears that they call him off guard. I think this Colts team can recalibrate. I think it's good to lose sometimes. Now they know we can't let this happen. So moving forward, they can game plan for such things. And anytime they say, let's just take these teams, for example, these past 4 teams, defensive heavy teams, the Eagles, the Packers, the Seahawks, the Broncos, even the Buccaneers on their best day. Those are games that are going to be tough for them. And I'll remind everyone, this Colts team has not beaten an elite team. Their 2 best wins are against the Broncos and the Chargers. So that is against a good defense, the Broncos. And maybe the Chargers a little bit, but they're not like these monstrously run-stuffing defenses like the Steelers, So it seems like the Colts' kryptonite has been somewhat established, but, I'm excited to see how they readjust and recalibrate to that. Number 4, we got the Detroit Lions dropping 2 spots. So Packers and Lions both dropped 2 spots. I feel like the Packers and Lions losses were both kind of the same kind of realm. Vikings, hey, fully healthy. You know what I mean? JJ McCarthy back. Great coaching staff. Not that bad of a team. They're 4-4 right now, despite even with what has been going on with them. And the Packers, it's like, yeah, that Panthers team is a lot better than most of us anticipated. And the Packers didn't show up and the Lions didn't show up. So, still a top 5 team for me. They still have, all the stability you would assume could keep them around with this. But it's just really disappointing to see them lose a game like that. And Jared Goff looked the way he did. A lot of people were mad at me for having Goff where I did in my Baker Mayfield video, not having him in my top 10 quarterbacks. If I did, he would take Jalen Hurts' spot, but Jalen Hurts has won a Super Bowl. So in that same very fortunate situation, Hurts was able to get it done. And, Goff hasn't done it yet. So I think I kind of want to see him, see if he can get into the playoffs and prove these things again. Maybe get to that Super Bowl one more time. Yeah, because he's been there with the Rams. All right, number 3. We got the Buffalo Bills. What's going on? They just beat the Chiefs. Weren't the Chiefs your number 1 team? Why aren't they number 2? Why aren't they number 1? Well, I have them moving up 3 spots. And my thing is with the Bills is that it's just, if this list is taking into account at all, like what we think is going to happen down the stretch and like through the playoffs, I do not care that much that this Bills team beat this Chiefs team in the regular season. They're now 5-1.
Fair point.
They're 5-1 against this Chiefs team in the regular season, and they're 0-4 against them in the playoffs. A part of me thinks that this Chiefs team expects to see this Bills team, and they show them half of their game plan. Or
I fully agree.
they don't show, because they, even though this is not a season you would say the Chiefs can afford to lose games, and you would think they would never think like that, they're still going to go into the game trying to win. But if they can try to win the game while showing as little
half the effort,
right? They're seeing if they can coast through this game. If they can't, oh well, we're still going to beat them in the playoffs. We're still going to lock in for every other team. Our game plan for them is not going to matter because it's not like we're game planning for Josh Allen. We just don't want them to know how we're going to stop Josh Allen this time. And every single year in the playoffs, it looks different. So they moved up 3. It was still very impressive. They looked good the first week off the bye. This is a good second week off the bye. We'll see how things develop. But I don't think they have another really challenging game until really late in the season, or they play the Patriots again. So we'll see. Bills at number 3. Number 2, the Kansas City Chiefs. Above the Bills. They're dropping 1 spot. Why? For all the reasons I just explained. I don't really care that they lost to this Bills team. I didn't care when they were 0-2. I did a little bit, but I knew Rice was coming back. We all knew that. So for the time, we had him kind of low. We moved him back up. I don't really see them leaving this top 3 teams tier for a very probably the whole rest of the season. For me, this Chiefs team is just they didn't have their best day. I would say defensively, they were pretty poor against the run, and this defense actually has me a little bit worried about this year. But the offense, I think they were just a few plays away from, clearly winning, this game, just like the Bills, were the ones who ended up capitalizing on it. To me, Mahomes, he didn't have his best game. That interception he threw late was kind of ugly. It was like triple coverage, and I'm like, oh man, why does it seem like his deep ball is just not even mentally what it used to be? I just feel like he throws in the double and triple coverage all the time. So little discouraging with that, but maybe Mahomes is literally throwing the game to try to boost their confidence, give them a false sense of security before they head into the playoffs. I think that idea is so funny, but it seems so true. So who is my number 1 team? Number 1. The Los Angeles Rams are moving up 2 spots for me. I have made up my mind. I know that they were only playing the Saints. But to me, it's more about this Bills and Chiefs team. What they did prove to me is that they are still neck and neck. It's not like the Bills blew them out, and it's like, oh, damn, I would definitely move the Bills over them if that happened. Or if the Chiefs beat the Bills, I'd be like, well, these 2 teams are still the same. But for me, this Rams team, top to bottom, offense, defense, the way they're able to disrupt. I actually want to start on the defensive side, because the way this defense is able to be disruptive, winning against that Colts team was huge, because it's supposed to be this pass rushing, defensive front, and they're supposed to be weak against the run like we saw last year versus the Eagles. But what do we see now? They verse a team like the Colts this year that we're comparing to that Eagles team, and they win. They win that game. They're able to contain Jonathan Taylor. They're able to stop Daniel Jones. And, maybe you want to say Jalen Hurts is better than Daniel Jones. Sure. Okay, but it's the same idea. They were able to contain the run, and they've been doing it all year against everyone they go up against. And then you mix that with Jared Verse and Braden Fisk being the pass rushers they are. How well coached this defense is. It's just very impressive what they're able to do for me. And then that's not even the best unit of this team. This offense, this passing game, is the best passing game in the NFL. Matthew Stafford to Puka Nacua and Devontae Adams. A close second is Dak with CD and Pickens. Joey, I know you're not happy about this, but I'm not even sure if you're going to disagree with this, because just the IQ of Stafford is just on another level when you pair it, especially with McVay, a veteran receiver like Devontae Adams, who, say what you will about Pickens and his talent, compared to what Devontae is now, but Devontae is never going to be in the wrong spot. It's not like PI penalties. Every bit of production that you get from Devontae is through him. I'm not trashing Pickens. Pickens is an amazing number 2. But in the playoffs, who would I trust more? Probably Devontae with Stafford. And then Puka Nacua. I mean, it's getting harder and harder every year to rank the top 5 wide receivers in the NFL, just because, you got Puka last year, really, really emerging, and the year before that, and then JSN this year. It's just amazing. But Puka, in this system is just ridiculous. And the offensive line's healthy. Kyron, Blake Corum is starting to get involved too. I just trust this team more than any other team. It's like with the Chiefs, what am I a little worried about? I'm a little worried about the defense. I'm a little worried about their defense. I feel like it's that Bills game, if it did show anything that I'm ignoring, it's that this Chiefs team is vulnerable against the run. And then the Bills, for me, it's once again that defense of theirs. Can they stop this Rams run game if they were to verse off in the Super Bowl? I don't know about that. And they're very dependent on Joey Bosa for pass rush, and who knows if he'll stay healthy. This Rams team has a lot of players. You go down the list, I trust the Rams more than every team under them on this list. So they're going to be my number 1 team, and I'm going to try to keep them here. I'm not saying I'm going to dig my heels in and completely ignore what happens, but I feel pretty strongly about this. Um, with everything I say about what the Packers should be is what the Rams are, is what they actually are on the field. With the coaching, the way the defense can do everything and the way the offense can do everything. Everything I say about what the Packers should be is what the Rams are. So that's my take. That's my list. I'm going to move that now along with Dan's list into the bottom corner, and I think Joey should tell us either his top 10 list or any thoughts he has on the trade deadline, since he wasn't able to make it for the beginning. What do you think about that, Dan? Does that sound like a good idea?
Let's get it rocking.
Joe, what's on your mind right now?
You can quickly go through my top 10. I probably can't give you all the breakdowns. We can just show what I got, how I got it set up. And then I'll talk about the trade deadline, because that's what I really want to talk about.
All right. I do believe I actually have your graphics, so I'm going to try to pull that up right now. If you just give me, sorry, my stuff is showing up on the stream. Still getting used to that. Okay. All right, I got to download it real quick, but why don't you talk about the trade deadline until I get that for you? Why don't you do that first?
I thought this was a more entertaining trade deadline than recent memory. I don't know what you guys thought.
Why do you think that?
I don't know. I feel like just like the Sauce Gardner move on its own was like a huge trade that no one saw coming. I didn't see Quinn and Williams coming to Dallas. Just those two for prime example. And then a question that